Good evening, everyone. This is the second annual Fresh Arts Summit. We've been so excited to present this for a while now, but we're here, we're now, and we're so glad to have you here. Just to give you some history, the first summit was held here at Sawyer Yards in July 2019. However, due to unprecedented circumstances, we are hosting this virtual summit live from the Fresh Arts office straight to your screen. If you have never interacted with Fresh Arts before, well, we are a nonprofit arts organization dedicated to providing resources to artists and creatives through workshops, toolkits, discussions, gatherings, knowledge sharing, etc. Though we normally serve Houstonians, our digital presence has lately allowed us to reach out even further than ever before. In the comments, actually, let us know where you're tuning in from, whether it be by city, state, neighborhood, what have you. Just please let us know. If you've been with us here before, it's good to share time with you again. So one thing to keep a note is because we are digital, you can go on social media, and you're probably tuning in now through Facebook Live, but if you want to interact with us through any of the social medias, whether it be Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, please use the hashtags Fresh Arts Summit or hashtag Fresh Arts Houston. So just to give you some context of what's going to be happening tonight for the kickoff, we're going to have a series of guests speaking to their experiences as artists, organizers, people going through a pandemic while still being dedicated to their artistic practice in one way or another. So through tonight's speakers, we hope you gain some new perspectives and an excitement to build upon your knowledge with tomorrow's schedule. And so with that in mind, we have the honor of first having Theresa Escobedo from the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs. Theresa Escobedo is a multidisciplinary artist, curator, and arts director, currently living and working in Houston, Texas. She studied at the University of Houston and received a bachelor's degree of architecture in addition to a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Design with a focus on community planning. As the active director of Main Street Projects in the Union in Houston, she curates, coordinates, and executes programs and projects designed to activate public spaces and give artists the opportunity to impact neighborhood experiences through creative placemaking and social inquiry. It is with this dedication community that Theresa continues to work as an independent creative. Everyone, from the comfort of your home, please welcome Theresa.
Thank you for that introduction, and thank you for inviting me back to a streaming virtual experience with Fresh Arts. You are among my favorite collaborators. But I'm going to go ahead and share a presentation I prepared. I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about kind of the path that brought me to the present through a creative practice. So let's see. To introduce myself, my name is Theresa. I am a Houstonian through and through. I grew up in the suburbs. I went to the University of Houston. I studied architecture, and then I immediately rebelled against it after I graduated. I'm an arts administrator at the City of Houston. I work at the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs, also known as MOCA, but I'm also an artist, I mentioned that, and a curator. This evening, I'd like to take the time allotted to talk a little about how these experiences have merged and kind of coalesced into the present work I'm involved in. I will probably leave my personal artistic practice for another conversation, but I definitely want to speak to my creative pursuits in the public arena, how that practice set the path for my work at MOCA, and what the focus of my work is there. A year ago at this time, I was shutting Main Street Projects down. I was closing an independent artist-run project I co-founded with my very first studio mate and very good friend, Galina Kurlot. She has since moved back to New York, where she grew up, and we have kept in touch, and we still collaborate, but we're in very much different places right now. We met at the Houston Center for Photography in the computer lab. Where she taught photo classes and I was working as an intern and a part-time educational assistant. she caught me scanning some photographs of Polaroids, copies of Polaroids, and there was kind of an instant connection and instant camaraderie. I'll show you, this is our very last kind of activity at Main Street Projects that happened at the end of July last year. This was a far cry away from where we started, but this was kind of an in-person live acoustic experience. I had always wanted to incorporate live performance into what we did at Main Street Projects. And this was finally at the finale, we were able to kind of pull that off in a way as a goodbye and a kind of closing. So these are the photos that Galina probably caught me scanning in the digital darkroom at HCP, and it sparked pretty deep conversation pretty instantly. And we did bond over our shared love of instant photography. And I mention this because my very early interactions and conversations with Galina taught me about the power of speaking about your work, about your creative ideas. And let's see, I guess I am not sharing the screen. Let me get you caught up. Okay, so this is the image I wanted to show you about our kind of final, a year ago at this time, shutting down this project that had a lot of time and effort had been dedicated to. And then this, moving forward, we're kind of the back in time, back in history, talking about the serendipity that can happen between artists. We were in the same place at the same time. We worked with the same medium, very different output, but we really bonded over personal interest and love of photography. And what I found in that interaction and the years since is that speaking authentically about your creative experiences and your interests, however out there you think they may be, is really beneficial. It helps you to evolve your ideas. It helps you to refine your ideas. Your ideas can be challenged that way, but more often than not, I find it's a really wonderful way to find like-minded collaborators. Really interesting things bubble up in conversation. Not very long after our meeting, Galina invited me to collaborate on an idea she had to present installations and storefront windows of a vacant building. And the building was actually where the original Alley Theater was. So we assumed that the Alley Theater was named the Alley Theater because of the Alley Theater that ran the length of the building from the street. Thus, in 2012, this really was Galina's idea to begin with, but I totally bought into it because our interests were so aligned. Main Street Projects was born in 2012, and we began attaching our installation debuts to a monthly block party program that Mid-Main Houston, owners of the property, began hosting at the same time. We really started working with artists that we knew, but we knew that we wanted to make use of empty space. We knew that we wanted to show the work of artists whose work we weren't seeing anywhere else, and occasionally ourselves. But, you know, it was important for us to kind of engage the pedestrian. At the time, we developed this kind of a mission statement, if you will. This version we developed in 2014, but I'll read it to you. The Main Street Projects was an artist-run collaborative in Houston, which hosted local, national, and international artists. It was co-founded by 4 artists: Brandon, Theresa, myself, Galina Kurlat, and Rahul Mitra. The point was to bring art into urban surroundings, to engage the street, and to allow accessibility to art to all who pass by. Artists were then invited to create site-specific installations on outdoor walls in a mural setting and what we called the art garden, and in these storefront windows of, again, the vacant original alley theater. These buildings did evolve. They have evolved since, and even across the street, the owners developed a a retail and living development. And we were ultimately able to expand our public art projects throughout the neighborhood. This is an early installation, a shot of an early installation in 2012. It is from Anna Elise Johnson, who was then a core program fellow, Congress applauding. It was really interesting because what she did is she kind of adhered cutouts of clapping hands to the window. And for one night only, while we hosted the block party, she projected the video behind it. So the layer on the glass was really the remnant of the evening, of the projection, of the idea. And we understood pretty quickly that projection was a really, really impressive way, a bold way to address the street, to address pedestrians. At the time, while we were developing this idea, I was also working at a commercial gallery, and I'd begun to develop my own thinking about who and what I believed art is for. And though the clientele was largely of a certain socioeconomic status, almost oppositionally, my outlook became one that believed in art for everyone, in hyper-accessible spaces, DIY spaces if necessary, alternative spaces, and especially ways to address the pedestrian. Main Street Projects was very much informed by that thinking, as well as the curatorial in-gallery kind of work I was starting to do at the time. As I mentioned, the first artists we engaged were artists that we knew, our friends, our own network, but that quickly grew. And as we embraced projects outside of this shared collaboration, we would invite other artists into this project as our individual networks grew. So it really was kind of a raw and no real rules to how to go about this. I don't think we knew what we were doing. I just think that we had strong beliefs, strong opinions about what art we wanted to see and what art we wanted to promote of our peers. I will say that establishing a relationship with the owners of the properties was essential to this effort. From 2012 to 2019, they allowed us into their space. And there is a huge amount of support in being invited into a space in order to activate it and really get our legs beneath us and figure out exactly what we were doing. But another resource that relationship brought was, a combined resources, really thoughtful and interesting partnerships, and that we could attach our monthly debuts to events was really helpful in terms of promotion, but those events turned into fundraisers themselves. So we even had another level of philanthropy that was happening while we were displaying or debuting site-specific installations. Here is another of our early installations. This is Carrie Marie Schneider and Alex Tu, who kind of documented and made a presentation out of the Human Tour, which was originally a concept piece from the Art Guys. So here they're documenting their version of the Human Tour, which is a walk through neighborhoods in Houston that in plan, the route looks like a human figure. So this was a really powerful evening. This was probably in March of 2013, a few months into this project. Serendipity totally happened here. We invited Carrie and Alex to do a site-specific installation. They chose projection as well. Again, we were very much into that idea. It's just striking visually, especially at night when the events would happen. And Carrie invited her partner, David, to also project. And this is, if you ever look him up, this video is on his Vimeo, and it looks like a game from the 1980s or early 90s. It's called Road Meditation. And so it was a video loop. And again, there's some real activation it does for an empty street. And at this time on Main Street, probably the most predominant pedestrian population were homeless people. And that was really an interesting part of the project too, because while we would be installing these site-specific installations or cleaning the windows or something like that, inevitably there would be some kind of engagement with people who are drastically less fortunate and in very kind of troubling situations sometimes. And it totally reinforced my belief about who we were presenting artwork to and what it would do to stimulate their creativity or their sense of place. And, you know, that population was kind of our litmus test. And I learned a lot about who art is for and who I believed art was for. This was a really fun night again. Because of the engagement with the community there and the buy-in to this event program by other businesses, I think Six Lagoon, Thomas from Six Lagoon across the street was like mixing, you know, music from a different era in the street. The partnership with the owners somehow invited a composed piece from the Cynthia Wood Mitchell program, and we had the Spirit of Houston marching band come through. It was really exciting. It was really spirited, and it was really new for us. But we began to strongly develop our thinking around what these experiences do, the power of them, the camaraderie of them, but how they can really enliven a place and kind of in your brain drop pin about special things that happen in the city you're in. I sometimes would get in on the action. I did a few installations myself. I had no idea what I was doing. Up to this point, I had only worked with photography, 2D printing, and instant photography. So there was kind of encouragement to think about things 3D, think about putting something in a space. And I won't lie to you, it was very challenging. I don't think I fielded that kind of prompt well, but I did try, and I think I'm the stronger for it. We also presented murals. And so this was very much cutting my teeth on things that I continue to do now in my position at MoCA. And of course, in the work that I'll talk about with the Arts District Houston in a couple of minutes. This is probably the favorite mural that we produced. It's Raining Cats and Dogs by Peter and Vincent Nguyen, who grew up in Houston, went to, I think, Klein Forest ISD. Super, super duper artists, are now animators for both of them. Both brothers are animators for Disney. So they visited us, and we got them to say yes to a mural. This is very much inspired by their growing up in Houston and the video game Hamburger Time or Burger Time? I think it's Burger Time. This was probably one of the last projects to be hosted at Main Street Projects. This is the new development across the street, included a lobby or a lounge space at the street level. And again, we continued to engage the pedestrian. And at this point, we weren't necessarily searching for artists. The artists started to make themselves known to participate in the space. This was an absolutely striking interactive installation. It was kinetic, it was movement-based, and the design you see on the windows would begin to interact with you if you were in front of it. So new levels in what we were able to do with the artists we worked with. Lena Dibb, Taylor, they're amazing, and I'm sure if you haven't seen more of their work, you will. A year ago at this time, I also really started to dig into my project managerial position with Arts District Houston, and the largest focus of which was a pretty intense mural initiative where we, I think in a matter of months, executed with different artists I think 9 unique murals that were inspired by the neighborhoods that make up the Arts District Houston. That would be the 1st Ward and the Old 6th Ward, and community engagement was really important here. Learning about the history of the place was very important here. And this is the first project we did with Royal, almost very close to a year ago. A really powerful experience because I got to collaborate with an artist that I really had kind of a sense of simpatico with. Spiritually, we talked about ancestry. We were very much aligned in our personal artistic interests. But also, I do know that while Royal was depicting this mural, while she was executing it and painting it, the community saw themselves in this work. This tells a story in a way of the history of the Old 6th Ward that has always been multicultural. It has been an immigrant community through and through since the founding of Houston, if not before. And so Royal has depicted different characters from different ethnicities here who are shouldering the responsibility of community and of these now historic homes. Anecdotally, neighbors from the community, from the neighborhood would come and talk to Royal and say, you know what, this really is what it's like. This is what it's like to kind of carry the responsibility of keeping history alive. And so there was a lot of identifying that happened, a lot of feeling seen that happened when Royal executed this project. It's a pivotal moment for me. This is at our mural debut. But every woman in this image that I just, took for the moment is a woman that I have worked with, I do work with, I've developed relationships with each of these women. It makes me a little bit emotional to think about because there's so much leadership, and I can go left to right and tell you about really interesting and meaningful relationships I've either had or developed since with this group, from the owner of Henderson and Kane, who graduated from the same architectural program I did a few years ahead of me. Royal and I are aligned in our artistic interests and our ancestral and spiritual interests, as mentioned. Debbie in the purple dress is my new boss at MoCA, and Nicole next to her is my coworker at MoCA. Marcy is an incredible leader and somebody who I count as a really valuable mentor to me, a guide, and a forever encourager. And then Sarah also has a lot of experience working in civic arts, and we still communicate on projects. So I didn't know what this image would mean to me, but it means something to me now. And I have to believe that the root of the opportunity that's been presented to me to work at MoCA is somewhere in the past at Main Street projects, and beginning to think about how to engage community and how to engage people who don't even maybe want to go to a gallery. This was the last project that I worked on for Arts District Houston with Colby Deal, highlighting the legacy and the effort of the woman in the wheelchair, Cleola Williams. But this image is really interesting to me because in this case, I have three bosses in a way in one image, especially that Alice Valdez from Mecca is in the picture, because at the same time I was a resident curator at Mecca. This project was my first try to secure permission for temporary art placement on a City of Houston Parks property. And I didn't know that was really available to anybody until this project. So this project taught me a lot. And it was the first time I had to present an idea for artwork to a community organization to get their buy-in. So I presented this to the First Ward Association. They loved it immediately, and that support was really due to their value and love for Cleola. And so we knew that we were engaging in a project that was deeply meaningful to the people who lived in the area. And it was extremely touching, and we couldn't have asked for a better result. But what has happened since then is a state representative who was present at the unveiling was so moved by the legacy and the story of what Cleola's work tried to shine a light on, that she instigated and initiated an application to place a historical marker at the site of this piece, honoring the person that this park is named after, Richard Brock. If you are not familiar with the name Richard Brock, I do recommend searching. His legacy in Houston is very deeply rooted. He helped to raise the funds actually for the purchase of the land that is now Emancipation Park in 3rd Ward. He also started a school for African American children in the 1st Ward where he lived. And I believe the park property used to be his property. So a lot of deep and very meaningful history there. And, you can't anticipate how things will come together. But I do know that if you persist in your work and you don't kind of give up or get discouraged, magic truly happens. And so this was the last project that I finished with Arts District Houston. And probably I was leaving Mecca at the same time too, really on a risk, because I wasn't sure exactly that I would be hired by MoCA. I knew that something was in the work, but nothing was concrete. And then COVID happened, and I had about 2 weeks to really be concerned about my future, because I had left work that I loved, to make space for new opportunities. And Debbie in particular, I would say these two, Marcy and Debbie, must have seen something in me that really made me feel seen, and gave me the confidence to do work that I didn't know exactly that I had in me, but I did. And I credit them and their mentorship and guidance still as part of why I feel more confident in what I can do on a civic art side, and a side that supports other artists and is concerned about community and representation. So these days, I work at MoCA. A lot of people don't know what MoCA is. MoCA stands for the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs. And as an artist grant writing, I felt that maybe the city was kind of like the emperor behind the curtain. And I don't mean to say that I'm behind the curtain. I just think the curtain needs to be pulled back, because there's a lot of really thoughtful and really concerted work that happens at MoCA. The City of Houston Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs develops policies and initiatives that expand access to visual arts and cultural programs in the community. MoCA works to attract visitors to Houston and to leverage private investment around cultural activity. MoCA helps the public and other city departments to realize the cultural projects they want to engage in and to advance their goals, to the benefit of the city's 2.2 million residents and nearly, maybe not this year, but other years, nearly 2.23 million annual visitors. I've been invited to manage the civic art program at MoCA, and it's something that I feel oddly confident. I feel very much in the right place for me in this position at MoCA, but that is because of the self-initiating that happened around Main Street projects, but also because of the invaluable experience I gained from working with Arts District Houston and learning about how to engage residents, how to engage the community, and seeing the power of the results when that's done well and it's done with authentic intent and a lot of heart. I will force you to watch, I suppose, what is my latest creation. I made this video between last night and this night, but I want to share with you a lot of what I've been focusing my work on at MoCA. I do hope you can see this, and I'm not showing you a blank screen or anything, but this is a video that was put together collaboratively with the Houston Airport Systems, the Houston Arts Alliance, who is our almost exclusive contractor and partner for executing the cultural programs that we implement, Houston Arts Alliance, and this was definitely a DIY team effort here. I'll show you, this is about the current opportunities that we have out released in concerted response to COVID-19.
Hi, I'm Theresa Escobedo. I manage the Civic Art program for the City of Houston through the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs, and I'm an artist.
Hi, my name is Alton Delaney, and I'm the curator of public art for the Houston airports, and I am an artist.
I'm Jimmy Castillo. I'm the director of Civic Art at Houston Arts Alliance, and I'm an artist.
Recently, we've seen just how important artists and the arts are to our city. Artists have given us hope, have helped us mourn, and have been keeping us connected while we are apart. The City of Houston represents the artwork of more than 370 artists in its civic art collection, and we're looking to add more. Houston is a place for artists, and our city leaders realize the value and impact artists and the arts have on our cultural vitality and civic identity. Together, we've opened 3 major opportunities for artists in our community.
A number of these works are for the Houston airports, where we are looking for artists from all across the state of Texas to add to our collection. A collection that is seen by literally millions of passengers every year. We're looking for everything from small portable works to 10 major commission works.
Well, technical difficulty. I couldn't share the video, but I encourage you to follow Mocha to see it. But we have recently released three major opportunities for public art, civic art, we're past this deadline, but we're acquiring up to 100 pieces of art, a few substantial site-specific commissions, as well as commissions for a multi-service center in Sunnyside. Great opportunities. But also, I think it's important to make the note that we're trying to engage the public in an external experience. I do want to encourage applicants for this. These are very competitive opportunities, but they're substantial. And there's a lot to be gained by putting forth the effort in extending yourself. Maybe you're not thinking of yourself as an artist who pursues public art commissions, but my office very much wants to collaborate with artists, work about temporary art placement. There are great trends in outdoor sculptural exhibitions that we think are great ideas, especially during COVID, especially in a time when we can't gather, especially not indoors. These are programs and efforts that hopefully you will be seeing more of as we kind of make our way through these unprecedented times. So I've clearly gone over my time limit, but I thank you for your attention and for participating this evening.
Thank you, Theresa. Thank you so much for that information. Thank you for doing for what you're doing with the city. It's always an honor and privilege to kind of witness your work.
Thanks.
So, kind of in perusing the comments, I'm happy to see people straight here from H-Town, people from Virginia. So happy to see people, again, like just gaining the information that we have here. Again, please let us know where you're tuning in from. We'd love to know, who's seeing this, who was watching this, so we can again adjust and work on that. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Theresa again. Up next, we have Emanuele Outspoken Bean. He was the 2017 Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs Artist in Residence and is a 2016 Andy Warhol Foundation for the Visual Arts and the Idea Fund recipient. Outspoken Bean is a performance poet, writer, and compassionate mentor, electric entertainer, and educator. Everyone, the one and only Bean.
Hello, everyone. What's good? I'm really excited to be here. Should I start off with a piece? Yeah? I'm imagining you're nodding. All right? I'm imagining you're nodding. The poem I'm going to do is, I think, is super important. I think it's super prevalent to right now. Mickey Mouse came to life on Walt Disney's drawing pad during his darkest personal and most fiscal hour, so you should know. Not to draw your todays like your tomorrow has been erased. Not to draft your limits, nor pencil in doorless walls with a cemented roof installed with one steel beam to hang nooses for breathing ideas. We conveniently remember that excuses can be drawn from thin air, and the verbal shading is so detailed that they become reasons. If you happen to notice your drawbridge being let down for you, well then, princess, design your own. You blueprint of a human, draw something before straight graph jackets begin to confine your scribble in an attempt to withdraw the dance in your doodle. But there are times when a good shake is in order. When confronted with what's been etched on you, it's the perfect time to start. From sketch, there is a world of blank pads and disappointments waiting on you to make your first mark. But nothing will happen. You don't first draw something. Y'all, I'm honored. I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to talk about my time and the work that I've done. And I just got some good news on my phone, and I'm gonna be sharing it with y'all in a few minutes. So my time with during COVID, so I do spoken word, performance poetry, and my day job is I work for writers in the schools They send me into schools to teach spoken word performance poetry and to be their community connector. And then also I work with their youth and spoken word and performance poetry as well. And I really like the idea of making what I wanted to do an occupation. I didn't have any models when I graduated from school. It was either some people started it and then started like in spoken word performance poetry, and then it fizzled out, or they were doing it and they were like wildly successful, or they went the book route. And but there was no like, if you want to be a lawyer, right? The school and law school, right? Doctor, so on and so forth. So there was no thing. So I've been making up my path as I go along, and not bad, not good, but it's been fulfilling for me, right? It's been something that's been extremely fulfilling, and this year was going to be a good year. It's also been very like, it's given me a lot of freedoms to create things that could be income for myself that belong to me. One of those things being a festival. I love music festivals, so I thought about how can I create something that is a spoken word performance based music festival, and then I'm a collaborator, so I started thinking about who I can work with, what I can do, put this together for an experience that people can enjoy, right? And it's worked, but COVID has been a little tricky for me, and it kind of put me even in a place of where I was like, I don't know what's coming, and I also don't know how to get to point B. Usually I have point A and point B, and there's many roads to point B. And a lot of those roads deal with interaction, face-to-face, people getting in cars, coming to where I'm doing something, right? And so COVID for a while put me in a kind of a stinker, but then I started just seeing some different opportunities. And these opportunities have been using the internet and wielding it to be more than just something that gets information out, but this is my new playhouse, right? So with that being, right, I started doing some things called Know You're Projecting on Instagram primarily, where I collaborate, and I've worked with so many artists. I would do these interview styles where on my projector, I would have that projecting their art that they did on the wall behind me, and then I project my work that I've done on this wall, and then we talk afterwards. And I would get writers, I would put their writing on the wall, and then we'll talk about it. And it was something to just generate content for myself, also for the other person. But I am genuinely curious, right? As a craft of sorts. Another thing is that I started doing is another interview-based thing, but I created it with my coworker at the time, called Right Here at WITS. It's every Thursday at 5:30, and we have such a large pool of writers who we pull from, P-O-O-L, that we P-U-L-L from to, and I just started contacting them and just started interviewing them one-on-one through Instagram, and that's creating content for writers in the schools, which is my job. And so I was like, yo, these are systems that are here, so I wanted to go ahead and make sure that I could utilize them and kind of create a structure that's a constant, right? I also started thinking about what can I do to I was planning on publishing a book, talking to some publishers. I went to a conference like right before COVID ended, and that really got me excited. Then COVID happened, And I was like, you know what? I want to publish a book. I want to publish my, at least do a self-published book. And so I got to work. As a lot of you know, I do 5-minute poems where I write a poem in 5 minutes and then give it to people. But before I do, I always would take a picture of it. And I have like 1,000 of those, literally. And so I was like, yo, I need to use those pictures. I have them all. I need to use them. Voila. Oh, it's backwards. Voila. I created a coloring book. It's called Color Outside the Lines. It's about to be available. And basically it's my poetry, pictures of my poetry, so from my 5-minute poems, and the poem transcribed on the other side. So you can get a good look at it right here. And you can color. It's color. And I think like doing something constructive where you could read the poem as a book, and you can also like color it as well, right? I did get some support, some financial support from some people to help produce this book, which I'm extremely grateful for. The Nyquist family, thank you so much. They were one of them. And so this book will be going on sale this month. It's I redid my website because I think it needed to be redone. And probably one of my biggest projects I started is gigs started being called, but they were just looking different. And some of them were real small gigs, right? Some of them were larger. I did a pretty large project with Rice University, which was awesome. And they've all been like digital or online based specifically. Whereas this, I got an email from Stages Repertory Theater, and they're trying something new. And they thought of me and about a few other artists, and it gave me an opportunity to do my one-man show, which will be premiering at the end of this month, online, and it's an hour performance where I will be giving my all, and I'm creating the show. And I found, and this was an opportunity I was able to leverage and contact friends of mine to help me produce this work. Friends, as in Candice DeMeza is the director. I'm the creator and writer. She's the director of the show. And I'm so grateful to have her on board with it. Brian Ely, one of my best friends. He is the lighting designer. If you've seen any of my videos on Instagram, and you're like, man, that beat is fire. Well, then Russell guessed, and I got him to be a part of my show as well. And so, to me, it just wasn't important for me to do this show. If I wanted it to be as good as I see it in my head, I needed to get help and it to be equitable and especially if they were willing to say yes, why not? And they did say yes. They, as in Stages, and I'm so grateful. The 28th, it will be the 28th of August. 28th of August, and you'll have all weekend to watch it. It's free. It will be a link. The link will be available on my website and probably on Stages, on Stages' website as well. It'll be everywhere for me. And you'll have that weekend to watch it as many times as you want. Yeah. And so these are things that are like, I wouldn't have guessed what 2020 would be in this sense. But since it is this, I had to start thinking of how am I going to mold myself to fit this new cast. And you know, I just had to start thinking of it differently. And thinking of my art, of thinking of the poetry that I write and create differently. And so this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. I mentioned the people who I brought along with me with my one-man show. Oh, my one-man show is titled after my book. My book is called Color Outside the Lines, my coloring book. It's called Color Outside the Lines. My title, the title of the show is called Coloring Outside the Lines because it's an action. And I had the opportunity of being on with Fresh Arts, working with Fresh Arts for a number of years now, and I'm so grateful for them. And one of the things that I do with them that's legit and so awesome is I do Artist Inc. And Artist Inc., I'm a facilitator, and Artist Inc. is just so, it's been so important in my life. Even though I'm facilitating, I'm still consuming and taking in this information. And learning it. I'm a textile learner, so taking it in and using it and then automatically teaching it or helping others. And one of the first people I worked with is David Maldonado. Before I read his bio, right? I want to talk about him on my own from my heart. He is a incredible artist. A lot of people, when I do my calls, I usually don't do my call. I do my performances from here. I do my calls in my room, and people see his artwork behind me. He donated some artwork to me for my festival, my second festival, the second year I did Plus Fest, and I appreciate him donating it because it's awesome. But seeing someone in my cohort, the green cohort, Green Bean, you're welcome, y'all. Seeing him in my cohort of confident in his work, but not confident in other areas. And not saying that I'm the one that built it up, but just knowing that, this person really evolved and blossomed, even through our very eyes, is awesome. And I had nothing to do with the talent, but I was just happy and excited that I was able to see him be one of the people as an example, even for me to grow from Artist Inc. and the practices and the daily and being consistent in this social media world. Things that I was like, oh, it works. Okay, I need to do it myself. And so, but let me give you it's a little more official. It's a little more official one. David Maldonado is a Houston-based interdisciplinary artist and musician. His medium has varied from canvases and large-scale murals to cleats worn by professional athletes. As a Hispanic artist, he believes that there is an importance in reflecting his culture, tradition, and good storytelling through the forms of art. Without further ado, we're going to play a video, and then we're going to bring him in. Yeah. So dope. So dope.
Hey.
What's good, brother? What's good, man? What's up?
What's good? Good to see you, man.
Yeah, man. It's good to see you, bro.
Likewise.
Yeah, man. So where is that piece that we just watched?
So that one is behind the Starbucks on Smith Street, 2101 Smith Street in Midtown. It's right behind the building. Can't miss it.
Got it. So that way people can go check it out.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You know what I mean? Brother, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you were, how long have you been doing, first, this is not the question, but I need to ask this question first to get to the main one.
Right.
If you were, when did you start, drawing, painting? When did you first start doing that? What age?
I mean, I'd say my parents were kind of collecting my drawings at a really young age. So, I mean, I have drawings that I started, my parents collected like when I was around like 2-3 years old.
Wow,
so it was always something that kind of stuck with me. Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
You can totally tell.
So
yeah.
maybe not that young, right? So then high school self, right? You're ninth grade, right? Ninth grade, you don't want to be at school. You don't want to hear. You don't believe the teachers, right?
Yeah.
And if you wind up meeting, if ninth grade-year-old Dave met David Maldonado now, what kind of impression do you have on yourself, man?
I would have been like kind of, I'd be really surprised. I still don't know how I ended up here. Well, I mean, I know how, but it wasn't what I had planned. I knew I wanted to create art. I didn't really know how to get there. So I'll say I knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure what it was going to take or what were the paths that were going to lead me to that. So
That's right.
I'd definitely be pretty surprised.
You would be, but surprised. But would you be? And I'm saying you don't know you. You know
Right.
Going back in time, I'm saying you don't know you. Would your ninth grade self be impressed by who you are right now if they met?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Definite, man. Definite. Well, man, you're doing great things, man. What do you have? How has this pandemic, you know what I mean, which is real, how has this pandemic affected you? Affected your creativity? That's what I want to ask. Affected your creativity.
Creativity wise, it's affected me a little bit. I think work wise, it's kept me pretty busy, and I say that because I feel like it's distracted me a little bit, because I know as an artist we try to grab things from our emotions or things that we're feeling or whatever we're inspired by. So the fact that there is this distance in community, which is an essential part of the work that I create, I definitely feel that. So I'm having to accommodate to things like this, like things that are on the web, things that are on the internet. So it's definitely different, but I definitely still, it's not the same, but we're doing the best that we can all we can. So yeah, it's kind of helping out, but I feel it.
What's the most bizarre thing you've done artistically that someone's asked you or that you decided to do? What's the most bizarre thing? And I'll answer, taking the idea of making a coloring book. And remember, I called you because I saw yours. I was already working on it.
Yeah.
I was already working on mine before I saw yours, but it was inspiring to see it.
Man, I mean, bizarre, I wouldn't say. I think I guess the coloring book was a little out of range of anything that I was planning on doing anytime soon. I think for me, it's bizarre that I'm still getting work. If anything.
Man,
so,
listen,
yeah.
bro. Listen.
Nobody would have thought of that. Yeah.
Man, dog, that's good, bro. Let's go
good,
back.
man.
Let's hit this time machine.
Yeah.
So you're in my cohort,
right?
You know what I mean, for Artists Inc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a job. You have a day job.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's
teaching guitar.
That's not creative. It has nothing to do with a day job, right? I'm
yeah,
cheating
I do.
a little. Yeah, I'm cheating. My day job, I like doing. But but you have a day job, right? And
Right.
you wind up talking during one of our sessions. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we wind up talking in one of our sessions, and you have Instagram. You I don't know if you've had a website, and I do know you don't have a website now, so we need to talk about that. But you know what I mean. But you had an Instagram, and I kind of say to you, yo, dog, if you have all this stuff, just start posting every day, whether you create or not. And then you're like, okay. And I felt like you said okay, just like kind of shrugged. And then what?
Right.
By the end of the thing, Adidas gets in contact with you.
That's a true
so
story.
here's the thing, man. As a person, I mentor students, right? With poetry, and I do that often. And it's what, and you do. As a mentor, I want you to talk from the mentee end. But as a mentor, I do kind of want. I'm not kind of. I want y'all to be successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just wasn't expecting conglomerate Adidas success that quick. You made me think. I was like, oh man, I should take my own advice. I was like, man, why did I drop that gym to him? Why did I drop that gym?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely like that, man. I think, I mean, and it didn't even stop there, you know. So yeah, after that project ended, it wasn't. I mean,
Explain that project. Explain that project real quick. What was it?
Okay. So I had been posting my work consistently, and I had, used my hashtags well. I had done everything I could. I'm not saying that it's the perfect recipe for everything. It definitely came with a lot of great friendships, but I will say that one thing that made a huge, it had a huge part in my career and building it into what it is today was the fact that, so we were going through the World Series and and a few days before we knew that we were for sure going to go, I had a DM and I checked my Instagram while I was pumping gas. And whenever you get a message from someone who you don't follow, it goes into like a little pocket that you have to click. Well, I almost ignored it. You know what I mean? And that's the crazy part, that it was a message away, easily being ignored.
Away.
Yeah, definitely. And so it wasn't an email, it wasn't anything super formal. And at first I thought it was a scam, I did some research.
Of course.
Yeah, I was like, that's not true,
How many D's does Adidas have? How many D's does Adidas have in its name?
I double checked the spelling for sure. And so I sent them my email and I was like, hey, well, if you want to talk more, let's do this. And I kind of just put I got ready. You know what I mean? I did what I could. I cleaned up, and when it came to my business skills, the little that I did have, you know what I mean? And I tried doing my best to communicate as clearly and working as professionally as I could. And the awesome thing is that, everybody that I worked on with that project, we're still friends. We still talk to each other. So another thing is, I made great friendships from that connection. But yeah, they wanted me to fly out to Los Angeles and customize the shoes for Carlos Correa, and here in LA, and then here in Houston. So that project, led to so much more. But yeah, I ended up quitting my job like a few months later.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I quit my job.
Almost like, man, dog. That is congratulations. I've said congratulations almost every time we see each other. But it's important to see that, and it's like, and the thing is, it's like, and I want people to know, like, it wasn't like you gave up on social media. When I don't think you were doing it and then you would stop. And I was like, no, you should keep doing it. Yeah. Like, that's really what the conversation was about, if I remember correctly. Like, yo, you can't stop. I think about this quote that Jay-Z says. It's not even in any of his music. But one thing he said is, like, the most genius thing that we did when I was a kid of making music is that we didn't stop.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Like, we did not stop. He said it in an interview. And I think that's important. If you're able to have mentorship right now, would you mentorship with an artist or to build camaraderie with another artist or be a mentee to an artist? Would you suggest that? Would you think that's a good thing?
Yes to both.
Yeah.
Yes to both, because I feel like there are people in my circle that, you know, are wanting to learn from me, which I find crazy because, you know, I'm still trying to find a mentor myself too, you know. I don't think it ever stops, you know, and even people that might be in the same playing field, there's still so much to learn from each other because,
Yeah, for real.
you know, you have the work there, you have, you know, you have ideas, but at the same time, you know, you're still human, you know, and so at the same time, it has its ups and downs, and I will say that yes, I was really fortunate to have an amazing opportunity, but at the same time, I was a little fearful, you know, because I had a great opportunity and I didn't want it to be my last, you know. As much as people bring up this project that was very essential to my start, I don't want to be known as just that guy. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
Because my
That's
art
right.
is just as
You're
important.
trying
So
to build longevity.
exactly, I don't want to be a moment. You want to build something that lasts. And so I would totally take any tips, any mentorship, still to this day, and I think I will keep wanting that from
Bro, you
hopefully
can
if
call
any
me.
more
I'm a
years
phone
come.
call away, bro. You can always hit me up. I'm serious,
Yes,
man.
sir.
I'm serious. You can
Yeah,
always hit me up. Y'all, man,
yeah,
thank
for
you for
sure.
being here, David.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
can people
definitely.
follow you? What are the things, bro?
So mostly active on Instagram. I need to change that, but it works. So it's CapDavJon, Captain
There it
John.
is.
It
Got it.
used to be
Hold on.
Captain Davy Jones, but we shortened it enough to that. So that's what it is.
There it is. Thank you, bro.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow. Again, thank you to both David and Bean. Bean is always inspirational. You inspire me. So thank you so much for the work you do.
And I'm happy to be here, bro. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, I'll see you around. All right. Well, again, I think kind of one of the things that we've always appreciated about Bean, about artists like David, is that camaraderie, is that idea that we, again, aren't really anywhere if we don't have a place to lay an anchor, a place, a community to anchor us to this reality. Because again, it's tough to tackle this idea of like mastering your craft and your art. And often it's really hard to do that alone. And so we at Fresh Arts really appreciate, again, these friendships, these partnerships, these little senses of community that come up just naturally from artists speaking to each other and inspiring each other. And so again, thank you to those two for a really great conversation. And so now for the last section of this keynote, we have the keynote speaker, Monique LaRoux. I'm going to read her bio real quick, and then we'll get right to her. Monique LaRoux is a Texas native with French Creole heritage and is the only child to 2 U.S. Army veteran parents, mostly raised in Charleston, South Carolina. She's also a U.S. Navy veteran, ex-law enforcement officer, and former firefighter. The latter is the career in which her fascination with chemistry grew and flourished into the unique combination of fire, resin, and the chemistry of our artistic process. In 2016, LaRoux boxed up her last uniform and moved back to Houston to pursue her passion in art. Shortly after, her art career was born and Monique LaRoux Art was established. As an advocate for mental health, PTSD awareness, and inspiring others with her daily mantra and movement, stop doing things you don't like, LaRoux believes empathy and compassion is the way to grow in love. LaRoux teaches art therapy paint sessions and works with veterans through volunteering, commissioned artwork, hosts her own podcast called Perspective of an Artist, and collaborations and now creative filmmaking such as shorts and documentaries. Everyone, please welcome Monique LaRoux.
Hi, everyone. I'm incredibly excited to be here. I want to give a big thanks to Fresh Arts for having me here. And this is just so cool because, like I said, it's only been since 2016 since I started like my art career back in Houston. I am a proud Texan and I'm just happy to be back home. And like, this is just so beautiful for me to experience and share with you guys. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself and this cool project that I'm working on. If you haven't seen me like spamming it all over social media, but I love that we just got finished with the conversation about mentorship. And real quick, because we talked about mentorship, I do want to give a shout out to my mentor, John Ross Palmer. I am a former escapist. I was in his program last year, 2019, and it really helped me level up a lot of things with becoming an artist and getting better at doing what I do with my own art business, which fits my model so perfectly. I do abstract expression art. That was a big deal for me when I started doing that. As you guys just heard, I had like a slew of careers where I wore uniforms all the time. I was really okay with following rules and just wanting to serve my community and my country. But as happy or as so much success as I got from doing those careers, a lot of times I actually wasn't that happy. It lacked a lot of personal fulfillment and joy. And there was a reason that I pursued the careers with the uniforms and the structure was because my parents realized that I was good at art, and they really did encourage it, when I was a younger kid. But when I got older, they said, well, hey, this was like all cute. We all had something fun to brag about with you winning your awards in high school and middle school and things of that nature. But we really think you should take life more serious and maybe pursue something that not necessarily safer, because none of those jobs are safe that I used to do, but something a little bit more sound. And so then I went to college, I got my degree, I did all of that. And I found myself just in this situation where I just really wasn't happy. The sadness, being depressed, having to deal with PTSD from my previous careers as well. It's just, it was a lot. And then I started wanting to get back into art to really figure out who I was and what I could do to find my own version of success and my own happiness. So I got into abstract expression. And for me, that was the end of the uniforms for me when I really started going into abstract art. It was the freedom to move those colors around and pick and choose and just have more choices. A lot of people don't understand when you're in these paramilitary or these military organizations that, yes, of course you have choices, but to a certain extent, a lot of those liberties are kind of taken away. Someone tells you where to show up, where to be, how to talk, how to walk, what uniform, what clothes to wear, all of that. So in a sense, you have an identity with the organization, but sometimes you might start to lose the identity of yourself by being a part of it because you want to just help so much. And that was like my issue. So then I got into really wanting to talk about PTSD awareness, mental health awareness, and really just trying to educate and inspire people to, with my daily mantra, stop doing things you don't like. Of course, I enjoyed all my careers at some point, but again, the level of fulfillment that I was searching for was never, it would just seem like it would be there for a little bit and then it would just fade away. But when I do art, it's just, I'm always fulfilled. It doesn't matter. Like, it's just so limitless to me. I can touch so many things. So moving in, I do want to talk about that. I do have a YouTube channel, and on there, I do my abstract resin fire painting art. I really do paint with fire. And you can watch a lot of the time-lapse videos there where you can see like the piece from the beginning to the end and how it looks and my creative process with that. I really do use chemistry in that process that I learned from being a firefighter. I actually used to be a hazmat technician when I was a firefighter. So I learned like all these cool things. I don't want to nerd out too much, but it is a part of my process on how I make my art. And then I do have a podcast that is on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, just so many different platforms where I just kind of the cool thing about having all these different careers is that I got to experience life in so many different ways. I got to be the police officer, put in those difficult decisions that I had to make sometimes. I had to be the military person who was also told that I had a task to fulfill no matter what. I've also been the firefighter where I've had to do and make a lot of decisions and witness a lot of like things that would happen, with one being in that career. So it really gave me a different perspective on life. And that's kind of what the podcast kind of plays into. It is called Perspective of an Artist. And you can find that on iTunes and Spotify and a few other smaller platforms too. But because of being able to be in those different roles throughout my life, it was really cool that it made me understand that people are in different situations a lot of the times. And the best thing you can do is express empathy. Because when you're a police officer or a firefighter, it doesn't matter which one, a lot of people sometimes see you on the worst day of their lives, and you're there to give them some type of hope or solace that it's going to be better, even though you may know from doing this job for a while that that's just not going to be the case for everyone, but you can still show empathy and compassion. So that really taught me to go through life really looking at every situation case by case. I just can't group everyone into every group. I really need to think about how people reacted, how I'm going to react, and what I want to say to get the best outcome for the most people. And then finally, we're getting to like my favorite part. So this is the project that I'm working on here in Houston. We all know that COVID-19 has changed the entire world. This is something that we've experienced on so many levels simultaneously at the same time. And I don't actually necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I think that is bringing us all back to a place of very natural, human, empathetic and compassionate moments and very raw moments of expression. And I think we forgot how to do that over all the distractions that we've had for like ever. So the docuseries is called Meet Houston's Artists, and it's about where I, an underground artist, I go through the city and I get to tell the stories of many multi-level career artists continuing to create, amid COVID-19, economic downfall, and the tensions and stuff that we got going on here today. I get to see them painting out of their living rooms, doing pop-up art shows still with social distancing in place and all the protocols. Businesses still trying to maintain themselves. And I ask all these questions in different areas of the cities and in their studio spaces, like, how are you doing and how are you still managing? And it's just a fun docuseries where I get to just showcase everyday artists still trying to, if it wasn't already hard enough before, it definitely is now with COVID, but to still see so many artists still going after their dreams and what they love, I felt like it was a beautiful story that I wanted to tell. So real quick for you guys, I'm going to tell you real quick about the Kickstarter that I have for the film. We're only asking for a practical goal of just $3,000. I understand that everything that's going on in the world, it is hard. People are definitely buttoning down the hatches on financial situations, and I won't lie to you, I know that this is a mess, which is why we've decided to only ask for the like lowest tier that we could ask for, with making sure that we see this production through to the end, because I also believe that the city of Houston needs more positive people, more positive things right now. And not just the city of Houston, but also the world. If we can get this docuseries out there some more, just showing them that, resilience matters, being human matters, going after your dreams, even in the face of chaos, still matters. That's just a beautiful, powerful message that I wanted to share. And it just so happened that 13 other artists, when I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this little passion project, blew up into this real big, beautiful thing. So real quick with you guys, I just want to do like a quick screen share and show you the Kickstarter site where you guys can go donate, which is really cool. We got a bunch of different, like, really cool backer rewards. And if you aren't familiar with backer rewards are, this isn't like really, Kickstarter isn't like GoFundMe. You actually get something for donating something if we're 100% funded. So in a lot of our packages, we do have like the Meet Houston's Artists movie poster, the t-shirts, mugs, really fun things that you get for supporting the film and making a pledge or a donation to the project. But I do want to share the trailer with you guys because we worked really hard on it. Some of these artists, I think a lot of people will recognize right away. And some artists I'm introducing to you for the first time, which I think will be really cool. So let me go ahead and start our screen share because I really hope you guys can see this. Here we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and press play here in a few moments. Just want to make sure everyone's windows are up. And here we go. Let's dive on in.
2020 has impacted my practice in several ways.
The US has begun screening airline passengers to detect symptoms of a new respiratory virus.
I'm lucky I'm an artist because I can't imagine going through this pandemic and being at home and staying away from everybody if I didn't have my art to sustain me every day.
With the ever-changing climate of what's going on here in 2020, it's important for me to continue to put more energy into the world.
Although COVID has affected my business, I will not and have not given up. If anything, I think it's made me more resilient, and I'm happy and proud to call myself an artist.
But it's all about being smart about it and being a collective.
With everything that seems to be going on, everyone just reacted to it very differently and very wildly. I thought this would be the perfect time to introduce everybody to some really cool people here in the city of Houston. Meet Houston's artists.
I think we still need art
Make sure there was sound on that.
to document the current state, to provide a break from the negative we've seen with media. I think now is the time for artists of all backgrounds to be appreciated and be seen.
And that's where I come in. Hi, I'm Monique LaRoux. I'm an artist here in Houston, Texas. And with the climate changing and with everything else going on, I think it's time that we shed some light in a positive way and share what the creators of this city do. So I'll be riding around, making sure that I talk to these artists, collect their stories, see what's going on, and document the times because, well, this is history, currently in the making. In my community, the art community, we're trying to make it the best we can. Someone has to tell this story. I think it's a great story to tell. And if anybody's going to tell it, then why not a local Houston artist? Why not me? All right, I'm back. So I hope you guys can donate to the Kickstarter. We're about 36% funded. Within the first 24 hours of us launching our campaign on August 1st, we actually reached our first $1,000, which I was blown away by. So we're literally a third of the way there. This is an all or nothing campaign. It's not like GoFundMe or Indiegogo where you cash it out with whatever you got and maybe you hit your goal or maybe you didn't. If we don't hit our goal, we don't get any of the funds and no backer rewards go out. But I'm very confident with our art community and us asking for a very practical and ethical goal of just $3,000 to finish production and get this content and these artists out into the world and share something positive, show that Houston is strong and that we're resilient. And even the artists who were already pursuing such a difficult career path that it can be full of challenges sometimes, still choose their own version of happiness by choosing to be who they are and do what they do, even in the face of all of everything that's going on. And so I just kind of want to wrap up with my daily mantra and my message as an artist and spreading my art is that this one's absolutely for you guys. If you want to know the key to life, and I'm not kidding, it's going to sound like goofy or whatever, but like it's really just so simple. Blah. But please stop doing things you don't like. Just stop doing things you don't like. That is profoundly the deepest, most beautiful thing I think that I can say to all of you with love from my heart is that if you want to seek out your version of happiness while you experience this thing called life down here, is to just simply stop doing the things that you know you don't like. I love you guys, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you guys support the Kickstarter. Check out my podcast, my YouTube channel, my art over at larouxart.com. And that's about it. But I'm glad to be here, and thank you guys. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Monique. Thank you for your inspiring words, your inspiring story. And again, we invited Monique to speak tonight because this is what Fresh Arts has always hoped to do throughout this crisis, to highlight the artists, to highlight the people that are doing these amazing things every day. It is not without artists. It is not, we can't have a city. We can't have a full city. We can't have a full identity, a full face, if not for our artists, such as ones we featured tonight. And again, Monique, thank you so much for doing the work.
Oh, no problem. Just thank you for giving me the opportunity and to spread my message to people and maybe make some type of difference in this craziness that's going on right now. But I think the world really needs the artist and love more than ever. And that's what artists do. We spread love, we share stories, we tell stories, we're awesome. And I just want to get more awesome artists out in front of people. So thank you so much for the opportunity too.
Of course. I'll see you around.
All righty, hon.
All right. Yeah. And so it's discussions like this that we thrive on. It's discussions of mentorship. It's discussions of projects that we're doing, projects of inspiration, lives that we live, and how we end up where we end up. And artists come from all walks of life, and we bring that, we put that into the art itself. And I think at Fresh Arts, we've always wanted to highlight that. We've always wanted to bring that to the forefront. We've always wanted to help that journey. And so just to let you know, we've been having live discussions on our Facebook Live, the one you're tuning into right now on Facebook, that provide even more perspectives and context to the issues that artists face every day. And so you can watch those on our resource library on our website. But even further than that, in this particular context, tomorrow we'll bring even more perspectives and experiences from professionals and artists in Houston who also wish to see a successful arts community despite these challenges. We hope you enjoyed this keynote with some sort of drink or cocktail. If not, well, you still have tomorrow to do that. If you haven't registered, it is not too late. Please visit our microsite that will be hosting the summit. The link will be available in the comments, I'm sure in the description. Or just go to fresharts.org. But again, if you haven't registered yet, there's still time. It's not too late. And please do so. We have a very affordable scale, whether it be if you can't pay any, up to $50. Again, whatever you can. And so with that in mind, if you've registered, do not come back here. Not because I don't like you, but because the programming will be happening on our microsite. So please go there. Please follow the instructions provided in your registration email to go to our mini site where the content will be hosted. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. And I just want to give a special thanks to all of our donors, funders, and sponsors, and you. So again, see you tomorrow. And we've got a lot to learn, and we've got a lot to work with each other with. So, see you.